Sisters, good evening. Thank you so much for this beautiful, heartwarming introduction. Thank you for the Left Berlin for filling this beautiful place of AlHamra, and thank you for AlHamra for hosting this beautiful evening. I'm very grateful to see so many familiar faces and so many new faces, and to realize that the room is getting smaller for such a huge, whatever we are, that brings us together this evening. And on the streets since more than 7 months, not more than 7 months in the sense of 7th of October, but in the sense of 76 years of ongoing Nakba. And what I want to talk to you about tonight is like keeping in mind constantly there is an ongoing genocide happening right now in Gaza. And among other things that you will hear, one of the argumentation is that what we're witnessing is an attempt to fight anti-Semitism. So I want to very briefly talk about what anti-Semitism means when we talk about anti-Semitism, or when they talk about anti-Semitism. And more often than not, you will see that those who are in power are committed to a certain definition of anti-Semitism that has been institutionalized since 2017 here in Germany. And this definition is called the AlHamra definition of anti-Semitism. AlHamra stands for International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And if you go on the website and you see what this alliance is constituted of, you see that the name of first of all, they define themselves as a non-governmental alliance. Intergovernmental alliance, that's it. Intergovernmental alliance of different nations. And if you look at the list of the nations, you see that all of these nations are westernized countries like Canada, Australia, East Europe, West Europe, of course, Central Europe, Germany, all those countries, and a bit of South America, you see Argentina too. But all those countries are also characteristically defined as countries with predominantly Christian population. The only country that is part of this alliance where it's not the case, this is the state of Israel. In Germany, when you have a room full with Christians and you have one Jew, they call it diversity. And then they wish you Merry Christmas. So if you look at this list, this is what you find. And if you look at the definition that was proposed by the AlHamra in 2016, you will see something remarkable. If you have a moment and you to look at your phone and just put AlHamra definition, the first entry that you see is the AlHamra definition of anti-Semitism. And on the website, it goes like this. This is the definition. On 26 May 2016, the plenary of the AlHamra decided to adopt the following non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism, which goes like this. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, listen carefully, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Rhetorical or physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community, institutions, and religious facilities. Got it? This is anti-Semitism. So just let's go back to the first sentence. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. Sisters, if you look at me and I'm telling you I'm self-identifying as Jew, you have a perception of Jews. Just saying. This is the logic that they came up with to define what anti-Semitism is. And indeed, this definition is so confusing and so challenging that apparently also the framers of this definition found it necessary to attach 11 examples to what anti-Semitism could mean. And if you scroll down, you see 11 examples. I'll just read one of them. Here, One of the examples, denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, for example, by claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor. Any human rights organization will look at the living conditions that shape the living realities of those who live between the river to the sea, come to the same conclusion. At stake is at least a state of apartheid. If this is not racism, I don't even know if it's anti-Semitism or not. Like, I'm kind of, this is the logic that they work with against us to call us anti-Semites. So if you see of how these examples are built, 7 out of those 11 are directed specifically towards the state of Israel. Anti-Semitism is, for example, something that relates to Israel. Only 4 of these 11 examples relate directly to Jews as Jews. So we see a definition of anti-Semitism that prioritizes a national project in favor of experiences of Jews as Jews. To my understanding, this is a nationalist definition of anti-Semitism, which we can call it also an anti-Semitic definition of anti-Semitism. So we are having an anti-Semitic definition of anti-Semitism. And if you look at what happened after the plenary of the IHRA adopted the definition, you will see in the protocol it's written the IHRA adopted the definition of anti-Semitism, as I read first, and not the examples. The examples were not approved by the plenary of the IHRA. And yet, on the website of the IHRA, those examples are attached. Wherever you will see the definition of the IHRA, probably those who put it there found it so confusing that they found it necessary to attach 11 examples of what anti-Semitism is. So always this definition is come in tandem together with a list of 11 examples, always the same examples. So we're talking about an anti-democratic definition of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitic and anti-democratic definition of anti-Semitism. Shortly after this definition has been introduced, more than 300 scholars gathered together in order to discuss and to establish a new scientifically based definition of anti-Semitism, and they published it under the name the Jerusalem Declaration on Anti-Semitism. Google it if you have time later. I'm not doing advertisement. Sorry, like, do whatever you want. I'm just telling you what I know. So you see that the state institutions that privilege definition of anti-Semitism and that is not scientific against scientific definition of anti-Semitism. For example, even universities here in Germany, they are committed, as the president of the FU said to me once in a meeting, we are committed to the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. And the thing is that we are seeing here a definition of anti-Semitism which is anti-Semitic, anti-democratic, and anti-scientific. This is the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism that governs our everyday life, according to which Germany sees itself obliged to support an ongoing genocide in Gaza. When we speak accordingly about the privileging of a national state, a Zionist state, instead of the experiences of Jews to describe how the world unfolds from our perspective, what we see is that the list that we demand is that when we talk about the liberation of Palestine from Zionism, we also always talk about the liberation of Judaism from Zionism. sisters, in this sense. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Free,